أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم أخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمنا بنور الفهم، وافتح علينا بمعرفة العلم وسهل أخلاقنا بالحلم، واجعلنا ممن يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. اللهم اجعل أعمالنا خالصة لوجهك ولا تجعل فيها حظا لغيرك. وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين، والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. How's everyone today?
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alhamdulillah. Um, we yeah, in our last lesson we were busy with our for the last while now we've been busy with these masjid fee skills, so we'll get right back to them bismillah ta'ala. Start with just by saying the scales as we usually do, and then we'll get into looking at some of the homework bismillah ta'ala. Right, before we start, are there any questions? No, then let's just say all the scales. Um, what's happening? Does my screen go off like occasionally?
Not
No,
very.
well, it's fine.
Okay. Carry on. Right, let's see. Which circles? أعوذ بالله من الشيطان. 1 2 3 go. فعل يفعل تفعيلا مفعل مفعل فعل لا تفعل. Again. فعل يفعل تفعيلا مفعل مفعل فعل لا تفعل. Move on to the next one. Even you were فاعل فاعل يفاعل فعالا مفاعلة مفاعل مفاعل فاعل مفاعل لا تفاعل. Again. فاعل يفاعل فعالا مفاعلة مفاعل مفاعل فاعل لا تفاعل. Few mistakes in that skill, but okay. Next one. أفعل أفعل يفعل إفعالا مفعل مفعل أفعل لا تفعل. Again. أفعل يفعل إفعالا مفعل مفعل أفعل لا تفعل. One. تفعل يتفعل تفعلا متفعل متفعل تفعل لا تتفعل. Again. فعل يفعل sorry تفعل يتفعل تفعلا متفعل متفعل تفعل لا تتفعل. Next one. تفاعل يتفاعل تفاعلا متفاعل متفاعل تفاعل لا تتفاعل. Again. تفاعل يتفاعل تفاعلا متفاعل متفاعل تفاعل لا تتفاعل. Next one. انفعل ينفعل انفعالا منفعل منفعل انفعل لا تنفعل. Again. انفعل ينفعل انفعالا منفعل منفعل انفعل لا تنفعل. I'll say this one more time. One of the last ones we did. انفعل ينفعل انفعالا منفعل منفعل انفعل لا تنفعل. And then I think the last one we did, eighth verb, we'll go through that together. افتعل افتعل يفتعل افتعالا مفتعل مفتعل افتعل لا تفتعل. Again. افتعل يفتعل افتعالا مفتعل مفتعل افتعل لا تفتعل. One more time. افتعل يفتعل افتعالا مفتعل مفتعل افتعل لا تفتعل. So those are all our scales. Any questions? Tell me, did we go through all of these scales here on Bab 7? And I know we didn't do it for Bab 8. We'll do that now, inshallah. Did we go through all of these scales for Bab 7? In qalaba, in fajara, in bajasa, in sarafa, in talaqa, in salakha. We go through those?
I think we did, Malala, because I remember discussing the Ismul Maf'ul and how that was hard to translate.
Okay.
But I think the other guys in the class might be able to confirm.
Okay. So
Sorry,
then
I have
let's
a
go.
question regarding
Bismillah.
Bab 8. The quality you said is to do for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I can see that with like when you take something, it's like a one-way thing. You're taking it for yourself, or you're listening, or you're earning. And then what about differing? Isn't differing like when I did some examples, you like differing with someone else, isn't it?
Um,
I'm not sure about that quality of that one.
yeah. So differing, let me see. Let me just think about it. اختلف comes from the root letters خالف. So it gets used for the meaning of differing on various abwab. Like on the third bab, خالف يخالف خلاف. We all, I'm sure you must have come across the word before, khilaf. And that's on the third bab, which has a connotation of mutuality. Um, for two things to conflict, to clash, or be contradictory. Um, yeah, I don't see how that meaning comes across directly over there. I don't think it's not like a necessity of the bab that it has to be like that. Sometimes the abwab have, they have the same meaning as one of the other abwab as well. Like akhada and ittakhada mean the same thing, to take.
Okay,
Yeah.
it does say there's either do for oneself or a new meaning.
Yeah. So then it would just be like the new meaning.
Okay, and Maluna, can you also explain the ismu fa'il and the maf'ul? Is that just the same for this bab as well? Like a differder and the one who differs, and the thing that's differed upon. I don't know. I didn't understand that part as well. For this bab specifically.
So in terms of the form of the ismul fa'il and the ismul maf'ul, they're obviously clearly different. The one has a kasra on the second root
Yes, I
letter.
understand
The
that
other one
part.
has a
Yes.
fatha on the second root letter, right? That's in terms of just the structure. In terms of the meaning, right? As you can see, to differ is something that it's like transitive. It remains with the doer. The action remains with the doer. Now, when you have that, then the ismul maf'ul, it doesn't become non-functional. It still has a meaning. However, to use that word, you'd have to use it with a harf. Like, for example, ikhtalafa means to differ. You won't just say something that is mukhtalaf. You will say something that is mukhtalafun fihi. Mukhtalafun fihi. It is differed in it. A thing that is differed in it. So, like, for example, if I tell you, we're speaking about a mas'ala. A mas'ala is like a question in fiqh. Right? Maybe it's a mas'ala in which the Shafis have a view and the Hanafis have a different view. Then I will say that mas'ala is mukhtalafun fihi. If I ask you, may yakhtalifu fi, who is it that differs in the matter? You'll tell me, الشافعية والحنفية. The Shafi'is and the Hanafis are those who are mukhtalif. They're the ones differing. وما هو المختلف فيه? What is it that they are differing in? And then you'll say مسألة كذا وكذا.
And then,
You know,
Lona, a follow-up
so
question for that. You said mukhtalafu, so you were using the ismul fa'il. What are they differing in?
مختلف فيه اسم المفعول.
Ismul maf'ul, yes, sorry. And then, couldn't you use the mudari' in like a similar construction? Give the same meaning in that sentence?
In what sense? You could, yeah.
I think the sentence
ماذا
was, what are they
يختلفون
differing?
فيه?
Okay.
Yeah. ماذا يختلفون فيه? What are they differing in? But when I want to focus on like, well, yeah, you could do that. But then it will mean like what they're currently differing in. If I just want to say what is the matter that maybe there was difference of opinion, or obviously the benefits that come with using an ism that is not time bound. So you'll say it was and currently remains to be something that people differed in.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. It's a bit of a complicated one, but I think I sort of see what you're saying.
Yeah. So it does have a meaning, and there will be times when that meaning is used, like here, for example, in the case of iktasaba. Okay, so let's just say some of these girls, and as we go along, then I'll point it out. Let's say this girl ikhtalafa first. Everybody, you can say it with me. اختلف يختلف اختلافا مختلف مختلف اختلف لا تختلف. Again, اختلف يختلف اختلافا مختلف مختلف اختلف لا تختلف means to differ. Right? Okay, let's do the next one. اعتصم, to cling. You know this word. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا. Comes from here. So let's say this one. اعتصم يعتصم اعتصاما معتصم معتصم اعتصم لا تعتصم. Again, اعتصم يعتصم اعتصاما معتصم معتصم يعتصم لا تعتصم. Okay. Right. اعتصم means to cling. اعتصم will mean he clung. يعتصم, he is clinging. اعتصاما, just the idea of clinging. معتصم, the one that clings. معتصم, again, this one can't stand on its own. You would say المعتصم به, the thing that is clung to. اعتصم, cling. لا تعتصم, do not cling. اكتسب. Yeah, اكتسب means to earn, right? Or to acquire. It can also mean to acquire. So we'll say اكتسب, يكتسب, اكتسابا, مكتسب, مكتسب, اكتسب, لا تكتسب. Again, اكتسب, يكتسب, اكتسابا, مكتسب, مكتسب, اكتسب, لا تكتسب. اكتسب means to earn. So اكتسب, he earned. يكتسب, he is earning. اكتسابا, just the idea of earning. مكتسب, one who earns. مكتسب, something that is earned. And here can you see how the maf'ul has a straight and easy meaning. Something that is earned. اكتسب, earn. لا تكتسب, do not earn. Give me a second. Right, sorry about that. So do you see in this 8th bab here on with the word iktasaba, the ismul maf'ul, you don't have that problem with the ismul maf'ul. It's a straight ismul maf'ul because you can do the act of earning to something else. But I can earn something. I can earn money. I can acquire knowledge. Like when you speak about our knowledge, we say we have ilmun muktasab. As human beings, our knowledge is generally acquired. We don't just have the knowledge doesn't just exist, rather it's acquired. It's muktasab.
So, Malala, just on that point, for the previous one, muktasamun, how is that one problematic? Because can't you cling on to different things? Things that is clung upon? That's how I
Yes.
translated it.
Yes. That is correct.
Okay.
But you see, you don't cling something. It has an indirect object. You understand? I don't cling a rope. I cling to a rope.
I see what now I was saying. Okay.
Right? And because it has an indirect object, we have to have like that too as part of the word that gives the meaning of the object as well, right? So that's why also you'll have a mu'tasamun bihi, the thing that is clung to.
Maulana, just using that example again, iqtasama. So your baby there, for example, he's a mu'tasimun. Is that correct? Because he's clinging onto you. So what are you then in that case?
Okay. So then if he's the mu'tasimun, right? That's a good example. He's clinging onto me. He is mu'tasimun bi, and then I am then I am the mu'tasamun bihi. I'm the one that is klang bihi to.
Okay, so you must add the bihi.
You must add the bihi here. When it doesn't have a direct object, when if you're thinking about the word, right? When the word, if you say, if I say the word and then I have to add some word between it and its object, then I'm always going to have to do that to ismul maf'ul. Like I can't say we differed a matter. We differed in a matter. So if I have to do that when I'm using the verb, then I know when I come to the ismul maf'ul, I'll have to attach something to the end to make it mean something properly. So if I have
But
to differ in something,
baby is still a muqtasimun, or not the
he's still a
muqtasimun.
mu'tasimun, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not the bihi at the end. You don't need that at the end.
Most of the time you will add it there, actually.
Okay.
But you don't have to. Mu'tasimun, because you're going to add it, because that's part of the object, not part of the action. Right? The bihi will always be attached to the object. Okay, next one. Istama'a. That's another one. Istama'a means to listen. So, okay, let's say it. Istama'a. Yastami'u. Istima'an. Mustami'un. Mustama'un. Istami'. La tastami'. Again. Istama'a. Yastami'u. Istima'an. مستمع مستمع استمع لا تستمع. You know the root letters from there. What's the root letters of this word?
Sama'a. Sin min ain. Sami'a.
Right.
Sam'a.
Right. And what does Sami'a mean in the first bar?
To hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, good. So yeah, it just means a bit more active thing. Istama'a, to listen, to actively listen. Right, and it's just a more active thing. Right? Okay, so yeah, again, when I say istama'a or to listen, can I put a direct object there?
No, it must have like a two or
Right.
something
So,
like that.
like you can have استمع إلى القرآن or استمع للقرآن. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنُ, when the Quran is recited, فَاسْتَمِعُوا, then listen, that's a command. فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ, to it. Right? So I can have a mustami', somebody that's listening, but I have to have a mustama'un lahu. Because I don't listen something, I listen to something. Because I have to have that harf there, then I must attach that harf to the ismul maf'ul. It can be li or it can be ila as well. إذ يستمعون إليه إذ يقول النجوى. No. يستمعون إليه إذ يقول الظالمون إن تتبعون إلا رجلا مسحورا. So it comes in the Quran with ila and it comes in the Quran with la. So both of those can be used. يستمعون. Trying to pick up the verb. It comes in the Quran with both of those meanings. Next one, ittakhadha. Ittakhadha means to take. And I told you last week we looked at these two examples, right? What did we say about this one? What's the root letters of ittakhadha? What do we have here now? We have a slight anomaly. Something slightly different. What's that? We have a shadda on the first root letter. Right? What can that indicate?
It's takhoda. Who does?
It's two taz.
Is it? Remember the first example.
No, it's a Hamza. Hamza to Wasl.
Not Hamzatul Wasl.
No, Hamza. Hamza ma.
Hamzatul Qatl.
Kha to Qatl. Hamza,
Yeah.
Kha, and Dal.
But akhada. So remember, if there's a shadda at the beginning, then it can either be one of two scenarios. Either it's actually a ta as the first root letter, or it can be a hamza or one of the other weak letters. Remember, we discussed that last week. I told you if there's a shadda on the first root letter here in the eighth bab, then it can be either that's a ta, like in the case of the last example here, ittaba'a, right? And we're just assimilating the two, or it could be, a what's the thing? Right? It could either be a or it could be a hamza or a waw or yeah. So it's actually here we actually have ittakhadha. That's too hard to sound to say. Ittakhadha. So what we do is we just assimilate the two. We change the hamza to a ta. Yes? And in the other example, the last one we have, which is actually easier, is when we have the root is a tabi'a. Ittaba'a. So when we assimilate those two, it's actually the same letter to start with. Can you see that? So in the example that we have here, the root letter is actually akhada. Ittakhada. Ittakhada. Because it's hard to say that, we just assimilate the two and it becomes a ta. Ittakhada. I give you another example. How will I say the verb wow, qaf, ya? The root letter is wow, qaf, ya on this eighth verb.
Ittakhiyya, because the waw is weak, so it falls away.
Wow, qaf, ya. Say again. Let's look at it. Let's look at it like
Yeah,
this.
I
Let's
think
start
looking at
again.
it is easier.
The wow, qaf, ya. You were practically. Wow, qaf, ya. If I must put it on the scale, just exactly, I have my hamza.
Ittaqaya. Ittaqaya.
Yeah, but because it's weak, we just pull the in. So ittaqa. So, but just look at the steps.
Oh.
We have our root is wow, qaf, yeah, right? To put it on the scale, it should look something like that, right? Ew, taqaya. Ew, taqaya. But again, that sound, ew, taqaya, we don't, it's not like a flowing sound. So what happens is we just assimilate the weak letter into the first ta. And also the end, you just pull it. Ittaqa. Ittaqa. And you know that word because that's actually the word from which muttaqi comes from. Ittaqa, yattaqi, ittiqa'an, muttaqin. Somebody that's God consciousness. Taqwa comes from there. Muttaqin, muttaqa, ittaqi, la tattaqi. That's why I use that example because something that you may be okay with. Taqwa. Right? But just to bring the lesson back to mind, if I have a shadda on the first ta, then it could either be that the first root letter is a ta, right? Or it could be that the first root letter is either a hamza, a waw, or a ya. right? A hamza, a waw, or a ya. And in this case, it happened to be a hamza. So we have the verb اتخذ, يتخذ, اتخاذا, متخذ, متخذ, اتخذ, لا تتخذ. What happens? That shadda on the ta, it carries right through the scale. Right? Let's say again. اتخذ, يتخذ, اتخاذا, متخذ, متخذ, اتخذ, لا تتخذ. And then another point to note here, like here, this ittakhadha is to take. Can I take something? I can take something. Therefore, it can have a direct object. If it can have a direct object, then the ismul maf'ul can be formed on its own. The muttakhadh, the thing that is taken. I don't have to have any harf attached to that. Right? The next one, ittaba'a, to follow. And again, this is another example of it. The root letters ya, ta, ba, ayn. We said ittaba'a. And here also the maf'ul bihi can be formed. So sometimes the verb can be lazim and sometimes the verb can be muta'addi, or lazim intransitive, muta'addi transitive. Lazim cannot have a direct object. Muta'addi can have a direct object. All mean the same thing. When a word is lazim intransitive, then I have to attach a harf to the maf'ul bihi. If the word is muta'addi, then I don't have to attach a harf to the maf'ulun bihi. Okay, let's say this last one. Ittaba'a, yattabi'u, ittiba'an, muttabi'un, muttaba'un, ittabi', la tattabi'. One more time. Ittaba'a, yattabi'u, ittiba'an, muttabi'un, muttaba'un, ittabi', لا تتبع. One last time. اتبع, يتبع, اتباعا, متبع, متبع, اتبع, لا تتبع. Right, and those are all of those words. Okay.
Mafkala, could I ask a question? Sorry to
Bismillah.
real class. And it might be a trivial question, but that ya at the end of where we did this example of the waqaya, could you please explain what happened to that ya at the end? I'm not following. Maaf, it's a trivial question.
Okay. The ya is a weak letter, right?
Yes.
So when we have a weak letter at the end of a verb, we usually just make it into a pulling sound.
Okay.
But now when you want to pull a sound, it has to accord with the haraka that's before it. Isn't it? Otherwise I can't pull it.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So like here, the letter or the haraka that's before the weak letter is a fatha. So how do you pull a fatha sound? Ah. Right? So I have to have a alif there. That's why I have ittaqa, alif. If I want to pull a kasra sound, then how do I pull a kasra sound? Mukti.
Okay.
Pull it with a ya. If I have a dhamma, how do I pull a dhamma sound with a wow?
Ooh.
Yeah, who. Right. So because there's a fatha on the second root letter, so when I want to pull the last root letter, it has to be a alif, a sound. Ittaqa.
Okay, that makes sense. Shukran. Yeah.
That's one. Okay. Now let's see. Do you guys want to do the 9th bab? Bismillah. Just a second. Okay. Speak.
were to put ittaqa on the scale, then right, then it would change. Then it would change. It would be yat yattaqu yattaqi. How would you put it in the fi'l mudari?
Good question. Okay, so what's the second word? Yafta, ifta'ala, yafta,
Yafta'ilu.
yafta'ilu. Right, so there's a it's a kasra thing. So how's it going to be? Ittaqa, yatta, yattaqi. Brilliant, that's it. Ittaqa, yattaqi. Because all that we care about there with the weak letter is which haraka is gonna drag it along. Remember, it's a weak letter. So you are correct.
Goes
Yes.
through the scale.
It changes as it goes through the scale, yes. Depending on the haraka that's supposed to be before it. Right?
Okay.
Like so let's just I'm gonna say the scale for you, and you can hear. Ittaqa, yattaqi, ittiqa'an, muttaqin, or if it were part of a, if there were al on it, then I'll say al-muttaqi, al-muttaqa, and then ittaqi, because it falls away now. That's why I'm just saying ittaqi, no pulling sound. And then la tattaqi, because if I have a weak letter at the end of a verb as a pulling sound and I have to put a sukoon on it, it just falls away completely. Taqi, la tattaqi. Don't worry about that. Those weak letter verbs, inshallah, we'll deal with them in due time if you haven't dealt with them already.
Shukran, Malana.
One. Did I do the ninth scale? Let's do the ninth scale, inshallah. See this ninth scale, they just left out the maf'ul, the ismul maf'ul altogether. You can technically form it, but it's like all of these words are intransitive or lazim, and so it's like very hard to use. The connotation of this ninth bab, is generally to indicate a color, to be or become a color. Why there's a whole bab for that? Don't ask me. I didn't design the language. But it just is. So it has the meaning of, yes.
At the ismul fa'il, is that a error there? Mu'alun.
Yes, that's an error. Yeah.
Okay, and then seeing as there's a fatha on the ayn, how would you form the ismul maf'ul then? Because usually it's a fatha on the ismul fa'il, on the ismul maf'ul, sorry.
Say again.
Usually the ismul fa'il will have a e, like muf'ilun, and then the ismul maf'ul will have muf'alun.
Right, but here there's only one, and it's muf'allun.
Okay.
Right. So let's just go through this scale quickly. It'll be if'alla. What's extra here? The hamza at the beginning, and then the shadda on the last root letter. But otherwise, nothing much other than that changes. So we have if'alla, yaf'allu, if'ilalan. Because the shadda on the lam means there's the extra lam there, right? So we just put the extra lam at the end. If'ilalan, muf'allun, and then if'alla, la taf'alla. Again, if'alla, yaf'allu, if'ilalan, muf'allun, if'alla, la taf'alla. Again, if'alla, yaf'allu, if'ilalan, muf'allun, if'alla, la taf'alla. So that's that skill. For next week, inshallah, you can just revise that. And then if you want, yeah, you can maybe go through the words on the scale. Ibyadda, iswadda, ihmarra, isfarra, izraqqa, إخضر, you'll learn some of your colors as well. So that's homework, inshallah. Just to go through this scale بإذن الله تعالى.